Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chicago, my home city. Hopefully you've all enjoyed the conference so far. And again, wanted to thank Marla and Ann for their assistance in bringing us together today. So my name is Jim Shorton. I'm the head of sales and business development for PayPal. And again, I'm based here in Chicago. I have the sincere pleasure and to introduce my guest here, Mr. Sam Hall, who is the Chief Product Officer with Grubhub. PayPal and Grubhub have been partners for about a decade, really innovating together in the mobile payment space. We have really started out in 2009, working together in a full stack capacity, doing credit card processing for mobile and desktop payments, and then moving into the adoption of PayPal acceptance with Grubhub. And most recently, Grubhub was an early adopter of Venmo. I think our prior speaker talked a little about Zelle and Venmo in that vein, and so we're really excited about that. The purpose of why we're here today is to really talk about mobile innovation and what it means to accept the challenges and the headwinds that are in front of us, but also really capitalize on the tailwinds within mobile payments and how specifically Grubhub has taken the opportunity to position itself as an industry leader in and around mobile payments. We're going to be up here for about 25, 30 minutes for this Q&A, and then we're going to open it up to the audience for questions at the tail end. So I just ask that you hold your questions till the end. So with that, Sam, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, perfect. So Sam, you've had quite an impressive background. You've been in the mobile payment space for at least a decade that I'm aware of.
More than that.
Can you set the stage for the audience to give a bit of an overview of your journey and how you got here today?
So I guess relevant to today, I started my career in mobile telephony, so at AT&T. And so I was a product manager involved in the launch of the very first, if I would get this, 2G wireless data network, where I think the state-of-the-art speed, the fastest we could get it was 15 kilobits per second, and we were charging $10 a megabyte per transmission. And so, so I did that for about 10 years, launched some of the very first kind of consumer wireless data products, was involved in some of the early downloadable Java apps at AT&T and Singular, and then I moved over to Amazon, where I started up their mobile shopping business. And so my team launched the Amazon mobile shopping app, as well as all the mobile shopping websites worldwide. And so I've gone from AT&T, where you didn't dare ask someone to put a credit card in on a mobile phone just because they'd have to triple tap it into a numeric keypad. And there was a lot of legitimate concern about the safety of that transmission back then. To Amazon, where people really started to become comfortable with putting that credit card in. We used mobile one-click was a very early innovation we did to kind of get people comfortable with that. After that, I went to ClassPass, which is a two-sided marketplace of studio fitness in New York, and I've been the Chief Product Officer of Grubhub for about 5 months now.
Fantastic. Great journey.
So I've seen it all when it comes to mobile payments.
So in that evolution, as you've seen payments and consumer preferences and consumer behaviors change, can you talk a little bit about how, in your current role, how you bridge the product development and the breakneck speed at which you need to innovate, and how you then curate really memorable consumer experiences?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see how payments have taken off. And with Grubhub, the thing you have to remember is that when someone is sign up for Grubhub for the very first time, they are generally hungry. Matter of fact, they're generally 30 minutes past hungry. And so, and they want their food right now. And so, and once someone goes, and as you know, particularly in one of our major metropolitan cities where we do business in, our selection is infinite. And so once they've signed up for the app, downloaded the app, gone through and decided what they want to eat, seen what the rest of their family wants to eat, then they get to that payment screen. And if you compare kind of the old way, which by the way, still a lot of people do, which is you pull out your credit card, you type in your number, and then God forbid your billing address, and then if you're in the office, you have to do a shipping address. Once you've done all that entry, it really kills conversion. We've done a lot of studies watching people as they set up their very first account on Grubhub. And to the extent that people are having to, by the way, even if you take a picture of a credit card, even that doesn't pull over the address. There's a lot of opportunities for people to make a mistake. In addition, a significant single-digit percentage of people will fat finger their address the first time. And so imagine going through all that ordering and having your food show up at the wrong place too. And so anyways, this is a very loaded, emotional, visceral customer experience, and we've got to get it right. And so to the extent we can use some of the more modern payment methods where essentially someone already has an established account, they have an established payment method that you already know what their billing and shipping address are, and we can just pull that over. Conversion goes up, customers are much happier, and we can do a better job in getting the food to them too. So it's been, so now what we're trying to do is how do we push more and more people towards that method of setting up their account?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been quite impressive to watch Grubhub's trajectory and growth of late. 400,000 unique food orders per day, working with 85,000 distinct restaurants. You're really operating a marketplace in a lot of respects. And at the same time, the company continues to grow. You're quite acquisitive. Can you talk a little bit about how you can bridge product development, but also making sure that you have a consistent payments experience for your diners across your portfolio of brands?
Yeah, it's interesting. For those who don't know, Grubhub was formed when, Grubhub was actually founded out of Chicago. The first major acquisition we made was Seamless out of New York, which was only in New York. It did and still today is the predominant food delivery provider in New York. And since then, we've grown by acquiring a lot. We just acquired E24 about a year and a half ago, and then a lot of the local food delivery companies as well too, because it's quickly becoming, although it's quickly becoming more of a national business with kind of more national competition. And one of the things we spend a lot of time on is when we acquire a new brand, how do we provide that consistent Grubhub experience, but also learn from what made that brand grow in the first place too. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, what made this brand grow, what was really important to that. Is that something that, if we're not doing it, should we do that, and should we move that over too? But at the end of the day, even though we operate under both the Seamless and Grubhub brand, the customer experience is exactly the same. The payment methods are exactly the same. It's just branded differently, colored differently, branded differently. And that's just because Seamless is such a strong brand in New York.
And do you see that changing over time where those brands eventually are folded into a common brand, or do you think it's important to maintain that diversity?
I don't know. I think it would be, in a perfect world, I think if you're on the marketing side, it's easier to have one brand too. But
Sure.
The fact is they're both such strong brands that it's working now, and so I don't see us changing anything in the near term.
Okay, great. And so you've been with the company now for about 5 or 6 months.
5 months now, yeah.
5
Veteran.
months. So you're coming into this at a very exciting, high growth period of time for Grubhub. How have you seen, given your past experiences at AT&T and Amazon and Fast Class, how have you seen that shift in consumer behavior, specifically around mobile, and how has that enabled that growth?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It used to be. Mobile was like it was almost like an afterthought. So people's predominant relationship was with the PC and the browser on the PC. And then if they were really screwed, they would use their mobile phone. They're in a place, they're desperate, but it was not the preferred method of actually transacting. And it was, and deservedly so, right? The early mobile experience we put out were not, by the way, I would say at the time we were proud of what we did given the constraints, but kind of compared to a modern app, these were not, super easy to use too. And so you start to see that evolve, and then that's kind of evolved too, where a lot of brands, we saw this at ClassPass too, as well as Grubhub, is that you'll establish your initial relationship with the customer on the PC site, because typically it'll involve some sort of either a direct search, like I wonder what Grubhub's all about, or they'll search for a restaurant and realize that Grubhub provides delivery for them. They'll set up their account initially on the PC side and then move to mobile, as their relationship with us grows. But now we're seeing more and more people, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are too, do the initial relationship on mobile. And so their first transaction with Grubhub is instead of, as a matter of fact, if you go to probably like an 18-year-old and said there's this company called Grubhub. If you went to like a 40-year-old, they'd probably go to the web and do a web search. And if you go to an 18-year-old, they'll start their search in an app store, download the app and establish their relationship there too. And we're seeing that more and more. And so just like, I would say that now the mobile experience for actually ordering is, as good on mobile as it is on PC, if not better. We've got to make the initial account setup on mobile as good, if not better, as on a PC. And that's where mobile payments really are important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what's interesting is the industry in food ordering itself has transcended and really become part of, for a lot of people, their everyday lives. At the same time, mobile payments has really innovated and advanced, and that's a big reason why all of us are here today. Can you talk a little bit about how Grubhub views the mobile payment space, not only the products and the innovation, but how do you then take that to make sure you're driving customer acquisition and driving engagement and loyalty?
Yeah, it's we look at a couple things when we think about payment providers. The first is, are they bringing a customer base? And by even better, if they're bringing an incremental customer base, that's fantastic. But are they bringing a customer base that really prefers that method over any other method as well too? Because if you look at it from our perspective, we want to allow customers to pay however they want to pay, but there's within reason, right? Because you can imagine an experience where you have 75 payment providers that you have to select from too. That would actually hurt conversion. And so we want someone that actually has established some sort of user base and actually can bring customer adoption already. And the second thing, probably equally important, is that bring innovation. Is that right now the ability to bring a customer and actually pay for a transaction, that's not that exciting. But for example, what we did with Venmo is they brought the ability to actually split the check. And so as you've seen, by the way, there's probably not a lot of teenagers in this crowd right now, but if you observe 18, 19-year-olds, even at a restaurant, when the bill comes, they're splitting the check to the exact penny. And that's right. I mean, you don't have a lot of money at that point too. And so that is a very important behavior. I think businesses like Venmo have built their business on top of that, and that extends to mobile food delivery. And so if you've got a bunch of college students ordering food together too, no one can be the generous big shot to throw the credit card out and say, I'm going to buy the entire thing. So they need to be able to split the check. Before, they were doing that on their own, just using a calculator. But with the Venmo integration, we're actually able to, if they paid via Venmo, we're actually allow them to split the check however they want to split the check. And so if you ordered 2 burgers and I only ordered 1, we can split it that way too. And so that's an important example of innovation that payments can bring to a brand like Grubhub. And it's really important, and customers like it, and it's really helped us out.
That's great. And beyond just really within the mobile payments experience, can you talk a little bit about how beyond the Venmo split payment functionality to drive that engagement and that interest of seeing my purchase and sharing that with my social feed, can you talk about how you're looking at payment specifically to help drive loyalty to your brands?
So I guess there's a couple ways, the main way payments drive loyalty for us is that if you're loyal to a payment method, we should have that.
Sure.
And so that's particularly important to us. We also just, we're in the process of acquiring a company called Level Up, which is the leader in kind of restaurant-based loyalty programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think there's a big tie-in between, I haven't talked about this a lot so far today, but in addition to our big business of just providing, we're a marketplace, and so in addition to providing consumers food to their homes and offices, we are a big provider of incremental business to restaurants. And so it's not uncommon for restaurants to do, especially in some of the bigger cities, to do 30-40% of their entire business just off Grubhub or Seamless. And so Grubhub has a really big value proposition to these restaurants, saying we can bring you incremental customers, incremental revenue. With what we want to be doing with Level Up is we'll be able to actually use this Level Up acquisition. What they do is they have a customer set up an account. They can link that account to an kind of card in hand transaction actually at the counter. Mm-hmm. They provide loyalty to that. But it also provides kind of very sophisticated CRM, customer reach out capabilities, custom promotions, A/B testing of different kind of promotions and things like that too. And their big values. They can provide restaurants with incremental revenue from their existing customers. We think the combination is super powerful. And so that's why we're very excited for this acquisition when it finally goes through too. So that's how we're thinking about it too. But we want to help restaurants build their business, not just from incremental customers, but incremental business from their existing customers, and trying to combine that together in a way that makes sense to them.
Excellent. So I think in this room today we have, I hope, a mix of merchants as well as vendors that support the payment space. Can you talk a bit about from your point of view, as a large mobile-first merchant, how you're looking at evaluating new vendor relationships and how you choose those partnerships for the short and long term?
Yeah, in addition to the stuff I already talked about too, in terms of bring adoption, bring innovation, it's the ease of integration. I know that it's easy for me to say, but just the reality works is that we prioritize, ruthlessly in terms of engineers are a very scarce resource. And we're very focused on what we have them working on, and food delivery is restaurant food is a $200 billion business. Food delivery is growing like crazy. We have all sorts of opportunities in front of us too. So my point I'm trying to make is we're very, very careful about what we focus our engineers and product managers' time on, And we have opportunities everywhere. And because of that, the integration needs to be super, super simple. And we've done some integrations that have been very painful that in hindsight we wish we hadn't done. And we've done some integrations that were very, very good that we would happily do again too. And so when you're thinking about talking to a Grubhub Seamless, one of these big brands too, the integration is really, really important. And we ask about the integration. We're skeptical. We'll talk to your customers about the integration too, because every day an engineer spends on that integration is a day they're spending on not improving their customer experience in other ways. So that's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the space is becoming quite crowded. Certainly with new payment brands emerging every day, but also at the same time, your space is becoming quite crowded and others getting into the space. So how do you look at mobile payments as a differentiator, kind of tying it back to the customer experience?
So I mean, I think it goes back to the point we've been talking about a little bit as well, is that to the extent mobile payments can help us innovate, we will listen every single time. To the extent you bring customers, we will listen. And so, bring customers, bring innovation, and also part of the innovation too is just simplicity. My dream customer experience is if they could come on and it's time for them to set up their account on Grubhub, if they could just press a single button. That brings in their payment information, their shipping address, and their billing address, all populated into the app. That would be fantastic. And if we can get there, that would be amazing.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think after the session, you should talk to Judy, because I think we can help you on that. As you look over the next decade, obviously you've been in the mobile payment space with some very tremendous high growth companies. Where do you see this space going? What do you see in terms of challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, it's really, as you guys know, it's a really fascinating space right now. I mean, we've seen, we still accept cash in some of our markets too, and so so we do everything from accepting cash, all the way up to letting someone split the check on Venmo too. So we kind of see the whole gamut, and so I just think I think the thing that's most interesting to me I'm watching is how carry out, or when you order and then pick up at the actual restaurant is evolving too. Because if you think about it, if you go into a restaurant today, we have a big partnership with Yum Brands. So you walk into Kentucky Fried Chicken today, the vast majority of people that are in there today are waiting in line, looking at a menu board, ordering at the counter, paying at the counter, waiting for their food and going out. You go 5 years from now too, there's no way that's going to be happening. You're already seeing it happen with some of the more with some of the more innovative brands right now, which is what we're building for Yum. And so if you look at probably where it's going, you'll open your app. It'll either be a marketplace like Grubhub or a or an app directly to that restaurant. You'll order in advance. You'll pay in advance using an established payment. And my relationship with the restaurant will be: I'll walk in, I'll go to a specially designated part of the restaurant, pick up my food, and off I go. And that'll be right now that'll be a material part of a restaurant's business probably in the next few years too. And if you think about that from the payments perspective too, that's going to take the payments from at counter to in-app 20 minutes away. And so that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch, and how that plays out too. So we're paying a lot of attention to that as well.
I agree 100%. It's scary how much, I think I shared the story with you before, walking to my local Starbucks around the corner, and I'm probably the only guy standing in line because I want to sit down and read the paper and have my coffee. Everyone is zooming in and out, doing the buy online.
Waiting lines for suckers.
So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to audience questions, whether it's to Sam or myself. So Sam, thank you for the time.
Yeah, that's for John.
Lead us off.
As you guys are just sitting here, have you talked to them about using OneClick?
We have, and we will continue to have that conversation. Thank you.
Okay, the other thing, as you talk about the people coming in and ordering and the pickup and so forth, and how do you do the competition? People will level up, kind of didn't do it, kind of did, but ritual and things like that. Because I always just walk in, pick up, and Cozy and a million chains. Do you see doing that and having one app to compete like a ritual, do a million chains beyond Yum? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting how it plays out. I mean, the important thing is that if you look at just out-of-home dining, it's a $200 billion business too, and this will not be a winner-take-all. And so there will be lots of different there'll be lots of different marketplaces. It's interesting too. You'll see marketplaces evolve like Grubhub. You'll see restaurants trying to build their own presence. Which you kind of see as well. And you see restaurants go through this dilemma: should I build my own experience? Do I believe that I have enough brand to be able to drive enough traffic to my own app to do this, or do I need to participate in a marketplace like Grubhub? And so there's a lot of change going on right now, and there's a lot of players to support that. And so, we pay attention to competition. It'd be crazy not to. But at this point, it's not. It is growing so fast, and just you take everyone together, and the piece of, if you think about the digital portion of restaurant dining is so small in terms of the total opportunity, and there's so much growth for everyone. Right now, it's just more for inspiration than anything else. And so we're growing fast. There's lots of innovation to be had, and it's a really interesting time to be a restaurant right now, to try and figure out how you're going to play in this particular space and whether you want to go it alone or go with a partner. Yeah.
Are you guys doing anything with respect to, not that I'm a crypto player, but there's a lot of noise and a tremendous amount of volume and resources being invested in these type of new payment modalities. So in the next 3, 5, and 10, what do you look to see happen with respect to these different payment form factors, as well as account stores? And I know Scott Thompson, a friend of mine, so we have some background, and I'm always curious to see this from a chief product innovation officer the future.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you go out 10 years, clearly, cryptocurrencies are going to, be, I don't know if mainstream, but certainly, a payment method that's accepted in a lot of ways. Now, how that happens, whether it's directly, whether it's something like Coinbase, whether it's through a credit card, or through a card, I don't really know. And I think how I think about it from where I sit is, right now it's too early, and and the people and the establishments that do take crypto, take some risk because of the fluctuations. This, as you've kind of seen. And it doesn't really bring it doesn't really hit the litmus test. I don't think it provides incremental customers to us. And I don't think it provides enough innovation to make all the other risks that we'd have to take it on. If that ever changes, and it will change, of course we'll look at that too. But today, I just don't see that as a source of information, a source of innovation for us in 2018.
Same with you guys.
Yeah.
You like looking at fraud matrix with respect to global and domestic conversion rates from cryptos, because the biggest risk is counterfeiting fiat currencies. Like 60% of, again, U.S. currencies held offshore. If they come back and bring it back, how comfortable are you with that valuation and currency, as I like to say, veracity?
Sure.
Because that's the biggest risk that I've yet to hear anybody overcome or articulate how do you counteract that vulnerability.
So I'll take my PayPal hat off, and I'll say that I hope that changes because I invest in some crypto. I'll put my PayPal hat back on. Braintree, which is our payments platform, was an early adopter of supporting crypto. And in fact, we supported Bitcoin for a number of years, and unfortunately, we just didn't see the adoption from our merchants. I think that really the leading merchant in the space that has really gone all in on crypto is Overstock. And now I think there's questions about how do you value, are they a retailer? Are they a crypto handler? Really, who are they? Our point of view, and our CFO, John Rainey, has gone on record with the same statement, and I'll make the same, is that we will support if our merchants demand it and their customers, because really our purpose is about serving our customer's customer. Okay, so if there's a demand in the marketplace, we will find a way to support it, whether it's processing that as a standalone tender type on Braintree or supporting that tender in our variety of namesake wallets. Thank you for the question.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you prefer about the PayPal platform versus like Visa checkout, some of the other buttons that are out there. Just I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what I was saying before. I mean, I think what I prefer about platforms like PayPal is the ease of setup, and because like I said, it's this very crucial. I mean, we've spent, if you guys know about conversion funnels on Google, but if you look at the amount of hoops someone has to jump through and the amount of money we have to spend to get a customer to download our app, to set up an order and to get to that crucial moment when they've got to enter their payment information I want this to be as quick as possible. And so the most important thing for us is that moment. Now, but if you talk to our CFO, there's certainly a cost. There's a cost, transaction cost, issue as well too. But what I'm most concerned about is that initial setup moment, where how can we make it as easy as possible so it doesn't, hurt conversion and hurt the investment that we've made to get the customer to that point. And then I'm also really interested in other ways that we're seeing more and more people order as a group and want to split the checkup too. And so that was a really great innovation from Venmo too. And so that's to the extent we can continue innovating on that, that's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the question's about, I think it's, do we have plans, with the level up, with the acquisition of Level Up, are we planning on offering some sort of kind of Grubhub level loyalty program? Is that the, so I guess the best thing I say is we're certainly thinking about it. I mean, Level Up brings just an unprecedented, group of tools, people, and kind of engineers that could build something like that. The issue we have is that we're a marketplace, and marketplaces operate on very, very thin margins too. And so it's one thing for a Starbucks to offer a loyalty program where you buy 10, get one free, because their cost of that coffee is, the 11th coffee is very, very inexpensive. But for us, it's the cost of an entire meal too. And so, yes, we're thinking about it. The fact that we are a marketplace makes that dynamic different. The other thing that's really interesting too is to the extent we can actually bring other customers' loyalty programs onto the Grubhub platform as well too. And so we're very interested in that as well too. So I think we're looking at loyalty across all those dimensions. The transaction hasn't closed yet. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's definitely something we're spending time thinking about. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
What percentage of transactions today on Grubhub happens on the mobile app versus the desktop?
Yep.
And do you see any conversion difference between these two platforms? And if yes, why?
Got it. So I think we publicly announced that I think over 60% of our transactions happen over a mobile device. If you look at conversion, it is not. Put it this way, if you look at all the puts and takes, it's not materially different between the two platforms. Although I will tell you, people use the platforms very, very differently. For example, we have a very, very large corporate and catering business, where if you need lunch for 25 people for a meeting, or as an employee benefit, if you work past 7 o'clock, a lot of the investment banks, right, I guess it's 8 o'clock, will actually buy your dinner. Those typically happen over the PC, because they tend to be more complex orders. They're happening in an office, and if your PC is right in front of you too, that's a very easy transaction. More complicated orders tend to go over the PC too, though we're seeing more and more of that migrate to mobile. Lunch is more PC focused. Dinner is very mobile focused. There's also a demographic thing. If you look at, if you go to college campuses, it's like the PC doesn't even exist. And so it does depend on the demographic, the meal, and the use case. And so it's interesting. I used to, not at Grubhub too, but I grew up in mobile, and so mobile's always been my focus. And I used to always wish for a world where the mobile phone was everything, because it made development and product management of that really, really easy. You could focus on one platform too, but I don't think that's how the world's going to play out. You're going to see PCs, tablets, and mobile devices, play across, be very, very important for customer experiences, and customers, depending on what they're doing and what part of the day it is, are going to be using all three of those platforms. And now I really believe that you have to innovate and be really, really good in all three of those platforms, or else be at peril. And so it's very important to be great across all three of those.
I'm actually not surprised to hear the conversion difference, because you guys were such an early adopter of alternative payment types, and so to be able to click a button and get the checkout is important.
Hi, my name is Ron. I know OEM digital wallets are kind of material benefits to conversion, but is there anything that you worry about, as they sort of take over kind of their space, whether it's CRM, data, anything else?
Yeah. The question was about OEM, kind of mobile wallets, like Samsung, things like that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, when it comes to customer data, we have, we view that as ours, and so to the extent, and so we have no interest in sharing that data back to a mobile wallet, and so that's a hard no from us. By the way, and we're in a different position. We're an established brand. We're growing like crazy. If I was a very, very small brand, I might think differently about that too. But the customer information flow is really, really important to us. I think our customers expect it to stay with us, and we expect it to stay with us too. And so that's something that we just won't do. Yes.
Mine is a two-part question. One is, while you're a marketplace, do you control the delivery process as well? And two is, have you explored cash on delivery as an option? Because that, in my experience, leads to adoption of other payment methods because once the customer trusts you all.
Yeah. So the question was, is it? Do we do all the? Well, I'm going to change the question a little bit to suit my purpose, if you don't mind. But I'll get there. I think he's asking questions about what kind of a marketplace. What kind of a marketplace are we? So Grubhub is a marketplace where you can come in and you can order food from a restaurant and have us deliver it. You can order food from a restaurant and have that restaurant deliver it, or you can order carryout from us as well. And so we are agnostic to this. We provide delivery if the restaurant doesn't want to provide it. Some restaurants really care about providing their own delivery. Some absolutely want us to do that. It just kind of depends. By the way, it also depends on the city and the whole thing. So we view ourselves as a pure marketplace there. The second question was about, did that get the first part of your question? The second part of your question was about cash. We actually do still take cash for self-delivery in some markets. It's problematic, as you can imagine, because there's this, now there's this cash chain between the customer, the driver, and the restaurant. It increases problems of, call it theft, not just by the delivery person, or but also by people who know the delivery people carry cash too. And so I don't think it's in the best interest of the industry to really promote cash in the long term. Although some customers, it's really important to some customers, and we're not looking to change that anytime soon. Where it is interesting is when you're kind of talking about the unbanked. And that is, I don't really have good data in terms of what percent of our cash transactions are for that, or people just prefer to pay cash because they've always paid cash. We are interested, in kind of finding ways for people that don't have traditional credit card relationships to kind of extend our service to them too. And so that's where it's interesting. I'd love if there was a non-cash way to do that too. And by the way, Venmo's a good way to do that. PayPal's a good way. There's lots of good solutions out there to that today too. But that is something that we're definitely interested in.
I think we have time for one more question. Back of the room.
Yeah, I have a question for Sam and one for Jim. So Sam, I was just wondering, when you use Venmo, when you apply Venmo to Grubhub, was most of the traffic being driven by people wanting to split the check, or are you just seeing traffic move over because there are more users on Venmo than others? And I have a question for Jim, I guess, outside of Ticketmaster and things like Grubhub that you can split the check on, like where else are people starting to see Venmo, to pay with Venmo being used?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't really have good attribution data for what made them use Venmo for the first time. What is interesting is that if you talk to, it's been, we launched Venmo, and it instantly became, it became a material part of our, kind of payment flow. And we are seeing a lot of people use the split the check feature. And a lot of this is just from kind of looking at people tweeting at us and kind of, the press and the reaction we got to that as well. But if you talk to customers too, it is interesting. If you talk about why do you pick Venmo versus this other thing, and for some people, there is definitely an age thing. Someone said it was 22. I think it's actually higher than that. So I think the younger you get, the more the more likely you are to have an account, a Venmo type account. There are people that actually keep a balance in their Venmo account. It's a way of budgeting for them. It's a way they just keep, it's maybe where they keep their food money, and so. There's people that use it for different reasons. It provides incremental functionality to our customers. They really like it, and so and that's a great example of a great win for us in terms of integrating a new payment provider. And so it's been really fun to watch.
And the follow-on question for me, so I'm a loyal Venmo shopper, obviously, and I use Venmo when I pay with Grubhub at least twice a week. So big fan. But for me, it's not about the split payment, right? I'm not splitting the payment with my wife. It's more about the social aspect, right? I have a network of friends, some I work with, some I don't. And I talk about, I just had a great experience at Veggie Grill, or whatever the restaurant might be. So for me, it's different. And I think also what's different about Venmo is I think there is that misnomer that it is highly or exclusively millennial, and it's not. In fact, what we're seeing in every business meeting I go into, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, the executive across the table says, I use Venmo because I use it to send money to my kids at college. right? And so then they're using Venmo to, true up bets or at the golf course. So there's a lot of different reasons why they might use Venmo. But as far as splitting the check, we've curated a couple different Venmo experiences. We flipped the button last October, and Venmo magically appeared to 2 million merchants that accepted PayPal. We've moved past that, and now we're having direct integrations of Venmo, like we have with Grubhub, where you can't split the payment. We've also rolled out that experience for Williams-Sonoma and their family of brands. You mentioned Ticketmaster. That's not live, but hopefully in the future. But we just made a big announcement about Uber. So obviously you can think about that Uber experience, going to a concert, sharing the ride, and splitting the Uber fare. It's really, Venmo is highly, the reason I think it is skews towards millennials is because it's about experiences. And if you break down our transaction types, it's really the top 3 categories are about experiences, whether it's food and dining, it's events and ticketing. So with that, I think we're out of time. So I want to thank everyone for their time, and thanks, Sam,
Thank you.
for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.